Hey guys, Jeff with Area North 40. Well, I'm gonna do a little bit more on the TM100 here. So it's been a few days since I put the Marvel Mystery Oil down the spark plug hole, right onto the piston itself. I've come out here a couple times since then and just kind of given it a little bit of a massage to no avail. So today, right now, I'm gonna try and come at it from a little bit different approach. So I have this right here. It fits right over this Kickstarter. It gives me more leverage right here, but that in itself isn't going to be enough. I'll slide this over that and I will have, well, that's about 6.5, maybe almost 7 feet of more leverage to, kind of massage it and see if that will, wiggle it loose. The mystery oil is still in there, mysteriously doing things, hopefully. I think if I were to force it much harder than that, I'd probably just break the kickstart arm. And I've never seen one that was that seized. I mean, this extra leverage gives me a lot. And again, I don't want to bust teeth off inside of the engine. I'm going to take the top off. I said I was going to do that before, but I didn't get to it. So, but apparently that's what I need to do. I really hope that would break it loose. But it is seized in there. I don't know how long this thing sat. It probably sat for more than 20 years. Well, when I watch these other YouTube channels and they do the will it run, they'll have V8 engines at 30 years it sat and they'll break the thing loose. And I've got one piston, they've got 8. Anyway, so I wasn't asking tool, not successful. Okay, I got the top of the head off. There it is. There's the piston. And that thing is pretty scarred. It's got some crud deep down inside of there. I'm going to blow that stuff out. But the piston is clearly not at its top spot. I really am surprised that that's not breaking free. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't. The cylinder looks pretty clean. That actually almost has me worried. What if it's not the piston or the cylinder that's the issue? What if it's actually like a broken off gear inside the crankcase and it's a tooth that's wedged in between other teeth? So far, not so good, but at least I got the top cap off. That is a tiny little piston. It's got a lot of material left in the cylinder here. If need be, that could be bored out and go to, like I said, this is a 100, but the research that I've done, the 100 and the 125, they're the exact same motor. It's just a different piston bore. And so what that should mean is that I could get this bored out and put a larger piston in there. It should have the same wrist pin and everything else. And that would actually give it a little bit more power. If you watched my 250 ride, a 125 has probably got enough power for me, even an old one like this, if I can get it going. I'm gonna give it a couple love taps on top of that. I got to get something that I can pop in there, like a large socket. That's what I thought. My large socket is actually bigger than the piston. Found another large socket that's not quite so large. Don't really have the best angle on this, but all right, so I'm just gonna put a little pressure on the kickstart and smack this thing, and then it's gonna fall out like that, which is very helpful. All right, I might need to do it with a different hammer. I'm using the rubber mallet, and I think it might just not have enough. It's taking too much of the kinetic force out of it. The rubber might be absorbing too much of the impact, so let me grab a different hammer. All right, a little ball peen action. I think I got it to move. Yay for that. Okay, it didn't move much, but it moved enough that I can see that it moved. And I'm back to the thinking it might be something more inside that's stuck. That's weird. All right, I'm gonna knock that down a little bit more. All right, let's see that spot where my screwdriver's touching there. Let's see. Right about there, there's a little rough spot in there. So I don't think that that's what was holding it up. But you can see right down in here, see the down in there, that's the exhaust. The piston was up far enough that you couldn't actually see that. You probably can't pick it up on the camera, but there's a little bit of a ring mark just above that. So our piston has now moved down, but unfortunately the Kickstarter is still not moving it back up. That's what I was hoping would happen, is that it would well, up or down really. I mean, the Kickstarter just moves the crank, so the piston going down means the crank is moving, but the Kickstarter, for whatever reason, the gears inside there are not getting the crank to move. So I definitely have to take it further apart. I'm not doing that right now. I think that might have moved down further. Okay, yeah, that actually moved further down. So it did move downward with the Kickstarter. It's definitely further down than it was a moment ago. You can now see all the way around the piston. The piston is completely out of the cylinder, and it should actually start to come back up. That's got to be pretty darn close to the bottom. So I don't know why that, if that moved it even a little bit down, it should move it back up. Okie doke. Well, there's definitely something wrong inside of here. So that means that I'm gonna have to take this case off, and I'll take that back off, and that means cracking the entire case. That's taking the entire engine out, cracking the case, and see what's going on inside. And boy, that's a bigger task. What I'm thinking is that something's jammed in the transmission, and that's why it's not moving. That probably happened to the guy when he was riding it. It probably killed it and skidded to a stop, and then he couldn't do anything more with it, and just kind of pushed it over to the side of his house, and there it sat for everything else to rust out and get stuck worse than it was. I'm gonna proceed with other things on this. I've got some new fenders. I ordered a tank that should be here pretty soon. It's a little bit different, but I think I can make it work. It's still a Suzuki, it's still yellow. I'm gonna go with that, and we'll see where we're at.
Several days later.
All right, we got updates. And so my initial thought on what happened with this motor, according to the guy that I got it from, he said that the engine had been rebuilt, and he rode it around a little bit and everything was great, and then all of a sudden it just shut off and wouldn't move again, and it locked up then. Now that's as much as he told me. That's the complete story that I got. So from there I had to kind of extrapolate and theorize, because this is all, the guy that gave it to me is the kid of the guy that had the bike, and so he's going off of his memory from probably 15-20 years ago or something. So I didn't have much to go on. I thought maybe the injector wasn't working. That nasty looking thing right in there is the oil injector. So if you're not familiar with two-strokes, you got to put some oil in the gas for extra lubricant, and that oil injector squirts a little bit of oil and mixes it in with the gas as you go. Most two-stroke race bikes, after that, they got rid of those, and you just pre-mix the gas ahead of time. but on the older ones, they had these oil injectors. My dad, he always disabled those. I remember he had like I said, he had a TM 400. He had disabled that. I don't really remember a whole lot from my childhood that he talked about with that bike, but I seem to remember that he did not trust the oil injector, so he would just pre-mix it himself, and so he bypassed all that. Anyway, I don't know that is what the case is. The reason is, once I pulled that head off of there, it didn't look that bad. The piston looked pretty okay. I don't think it's the piston that was stuck. So I talked to my buddy Daryl, from Therapeutic Sawdust, by the way. He had the idea that maybe when they got the bike back and started riding it, they never checked the gear oil. So it's two different oils, and it's basically the transmission. But usually these bikes, it's still oil, like motor oil, that they put in the gear oil. It's not transmission fluid. So anyway, if they rebuilt that thing, they would have drained all that out at whoever it is that rebuilt it. And if they did not put new oil in there, it would ride around a little bit until it didn't. Anyway, that's a running theory. Okay, we got even more updates. I decided, rather than draining the thing out, first I would actually check the oil. They don't come with a dipstick, but I put this stick in there, and can you see that? And that is transmission fluid, not oil like I thought. I need to actually do a little research and look up if that's what it calls for. Maybe it does call for transmission fluid. I mean, it makes sense, but you know, just my experience, it's usually just been regular oil in these things. And just like that, we got more updates. All right, for one, it's cold, so I'm gonna put on a hat. All right, another is, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I did a few more things in here. I got a shelf in here, put that cabinet up in there. Can put some paint in there. Unfortunately, the other side, the hinge broke on it, but got a sweet calendar from 1997. Every shed or shop needs one of those, right? This is the old tank up here. As I showed you before, it's completely rusted out, but you know, makes a good decoration, I guess. I cut that out. That's the back of the seat that says Suzuki. Here is that seat. Yeah, that's metal and it's rusted and it's done for. The foam's actually mostly there, but obviously completely shot. But look what we got here. We got stuff. All right, up in here we got some fenders. I believe that this is the seat. I think that might be a tank in there that I might have mentioned that I was getting. And we got a special surprise in here. I'm gonna unbox some of the stuff, but before I do that, I wanted to touch bases. I did a little bit of the research I was talking about doing, and it would appear I was right. The motorcycle engine, that type anyway, it doesn't call for transmission fluid. It calls for just 10W40 motor oil. And so now the theory has shifted a little bit. I still haven't torn into it. The running theory now is that because transmission fluid was used in there, the clutches inside of there may have fused or seized together, or the bearings or something inside of there has just seized because it didn't have the correct lubrication. And well, regardless, I will have to completely rip that motor apart. Now, I am gonna do that just as a matter of, I want to see this thing, see what I can do with it. I want to make that motor work again, but that's going to be a later kind of thing. Right now I'm going to show you some of the parts that I've gotten in that I've been ordering while I've been doing this project, and open them up and just have some fun with that. All right, as I said, got some fenders here. That's the rear fender. Looks like somebody already put a neat sticker on the back there. And there's the front fender with some neat stickers on there. What does that say? Florida Vintage MX. Well, I'm not from Florida, and I don't know that I'll ever get to Florida, so we might have to peel the Florida part off of there and, I don't know, put Washington or maybe even Idaho. How about North 40? Yeah, we'll do that. We'll put North 40. See if I can find the sticker or make a sticker with that same font, and then call it North 40 Vintage MX. Okay, so now these are not off of a TM 100. If I remember right, when I ordered these are off of, I think, 77, 78, something like that, but an RM 125. As I said earlier in the video, with the TM anyway, the 100 and the 125 actually had the same frame, same motor and everything. Later on, the RM took the place of the TM. They were a little bit different. The 100 and the 125 were different. The 100 was a little bit smaller. I don't think the RMs had the oil injectors. I think that was one of the big changes that they had made. I don't know if they changed it right away on the RMs, but I know that my brother's bikes did not have the oil injectors. Theirs were 1980, so a couple years newer. That might have been the big change between the TM and the RM, is that they got rid of the oil injectors on the full race bikes. But anyway, those fenders, they're not exact, but I think that they will work just fine. Okay, so you can kind of get the idea of how that's gonna look. Yes, it is a little bit different, but I think it's still gonna look good. It'll look better than it does with me just holding it like that. Let me grab the front fender. Yeah, that's gonna look awesome. That will look perfect. That will mount right up in there. I don't even think that I need to make any kind of changes to the holes in the fenders for mounting. So that is gonna look great, but I'm not gonna put those on. Just not gonna put them on right now, all right? For reasons. Keep these inside. Okay, next item. This is another item that I got that is not for the TM. The thing of it is, the TM being as is the older one, is actually harder to find the parts for it. So what I'm having to do is get parts that are period correct, that I hope will fit or be close enough that I can make them work. So that's what this one is. Those were RM fenders. I believe this seat is going to be an RM seat as well. This is I believe off of a 78. So right there it says RM 125. But you just saw that seat. I mean, it's not perfect. It's got a couple little rips in it, but the seat itself is in great shape. I think that this will actually go onto that frame perfectly without any significant modification. And so I will have a nice seat. And guess what? I actually can order a new cover for this, not like an old one that somebody had on their shelf somewhere. So, but that will be another time. Before that, this will ride on that bike just as it is, and I don't care if it says the wrong size, because it's going to be completely wrong. And I'll tell you about that here in a bit. Okay, what's next? Let's find. I don't even actually remember what's in here, so let's see what we'll find out together. I still don't have a microphone, I'm sorry. I'm mainly sorry to Daryl from Therapeutic Sawdust. He's the one that always complains, I can't hear you, dude. Sorry, Daryl. Oh. Okay, so this is, what is that? Nice. Look at it. Remember I said I was getting a new tank? Okay, here's the update on that. This tank, it says it's off of a 1975 TC 185. Well, I'm taking a gamble on this, probably bigger than the seat. But this tank is in near perfect condition. What do you think? They look pretty darn similar, don't they? Do they look like they're the same length? I don't know. This one looks like it's longer. That tab might be too long again, but I think that I can still work with it. So this is actually the second tank. I had to send one of them back. I ordered another one that was not exactly right. I literally cannot find a tank for TM 100 or 125. I've been looking. I've had this thing for a while, and I have been looking for a while, but this one is the closest one, and I actually got it for a lot better deal than what every other tank that I've been looking for has been a lot of money. I think I got this thing, including shipping, for like $100 or something like that. I'll have to look through, but it was a lot cheaper, and this thing is in fantastic shape. So one way or the other, even if it's a little bit long, this one's gonna work. And the color, the yellow, It's a little different, but that might just be because that one's dirtier. That looks pretty good to me. That yellow, I think it's gonna work. I think it's gonna work, and it has the petcock in it. I was afraid I was gonna have to try and get that one off of there and rebuild it, but it's already on here. So, and it's got the gas cap. Yeah, it's not a perfect fit, but this one's a lot closer. The other tank that I mentioned before, it was significantly different, and see how this is? The other tank, when the forks were turned all the way one direction or the other, they were hitting the tank, and that just won't work. Anyway, I will be able to make this work. It's just gonna take a little bit of ingenuity on my part. I'm okay with that. It's not perfect, but it's good. I got a good price on it. It will hold fuel, and I'll make it work. All right. Okay, next up. So what is that? I thought that was the seat, but that's the seat. I don't know what this is. I don't remember. It's lightweight. Well, it's got my name on it, so let's see what it is. Oh my gosh, it's got a bunch. Oh! Okay. I know what it is. There it is. It's the exhaust pipe. Remember what I said was in the previous video, how the exhaust would go down and go underneath the bike? This one here does not. It will come out of the engine head and it will come up and go along the side of the bike. This one's gonna be a little bit tougher to deal with. I have to make this work on a bike that this wasn't designed for. But I still think I can make it work, because that inlet right there is the same size, I think. Man, I'm just winging it hardcore, aren't I? So anyway, that will make it so that if I ever do, you know, try and jump a pop can in the parking lot, where have I heard that before? I won't bottom out on the pop can and crush the fat part of the exhaust. It'll be up there next to my leg, you know, and that little shiny bit there will be the heat shield that keeps it from burning my leg. So there you have it. I'm gonna hold off on showing you this right now, but somebody literally sent me something that he put inside of a cooler. So if nothing else, I got a free cooler out of it. Can never have too many coolers, right? All right. So I'm gonna end it right here. There's not a whole lot more I can do. It's starting to rain outside. I'm freaking cold. And so that is it for part 1B or part 2. I don't know. Anyway, I've got several updates. Still gonna work on that motor at some point and tear it down. But for right now, I'm gonna get this stuff organized and get these boxes that I just undid put away. And so I hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope that these little updates here have kept the interest in it. I will get this thing running one way or the other. I will figure out how to make that tank work, the seat work, the fenders work, get the exhaust on there. We'll open up the surprise package on the next one and go from there. I just have a few other things to figure out before I reveal that. But anyway, I hope you liked the video. Please hit the like button. If you're not already, please subscribe. It helps put the video out there for others to see. I appreciate you watching, and stay tuned.